Go sit in an airport and watch people come in with their bags. And some people have a little bag and they just fly along and straight to check in. And other people are struggling and they've got a backpack and 3 suitcases and they're like frustrated and burned out, and maybe they're yelling at their partner to keep up. And what's happening? Well, one is handling their bags. In the physical world, this is all I need. Zoom, in I go, off I go. And the other person tries to bring their whole life, every struggle and everything that they might need on this trip or this vacation or whatever it is. And they're struggling. Well, it's the same thing in our minds. You are the baggage handler. Are you handling your bags?
So today we're talking with Dallas Collis, the 16-hour coach and an emotional baggage handler who knows a thing or two about hard roads. After facing cancer, addiction, suicidal thoughts, the loss of his marriage, family, business, and a home, a period he calls his year of life collapse, Dallas found himself starting over from scratch at 60 years old. His story is a powerful testament to the human spirit's ability to overcome. His story is a powerful testament to the human spirit's ability to overcome. So join us as we hear Dallas's incredible journey of transformation and learn how he now helps others escape their story minds and create a new chapter. Everyone, Dallas Collis. So here's some questions, Dallas. I thought maybe we could cover, maybe we don't cover, but just some thoughts for a year of life and turning point questions. So would love for you to describe the year of life collapse, because that's a lot to happen in such a short period of time. What was that period like? What was the turning point? How did it inspire rebuilding? And how did it inspire help others? Maybe also, what does 16-hour coach mean? What is your coaching philosophy? How do you help other people move forward? And regarding emotional baggage handling, maybe some thoughts, or what does that even mean, emotional baggage handling or emotional baggage handler? Common types of emotional baggage and how it's seen, strategies used to help unpack the baggage, and strategies used to let go of the baggage. Does that sound like some good conversation today?
Sounds great.
Excellent. So you got yourself in a little bit of a pickle that
Love it. That's a great package. A bit of a pickle.
a bit of a pickle. And I guess you had to figure out how to get out. And I guess just some of that was a little bit of self-discovery, like how did I get here and how am I going to get myself out of
it? The biggest part is, how does anyone get there?
Right.
That's the context to our life of what happens now is from the past. So if we could, let's start from common ground, maybe a common agreement about this. What do you want for your children? What do I want for my children? What did your parents want for you? Basically, a doctor, a lawyer, or an astronaut are wonderful ideas and dreams. But what they really wanted, what it came down to was they wanted a healthy, happy, loving, beautiful human being. That's all.
Yes.
So if we agree that is all we ever want in the end, is to be that. We work 60 years at a job to get to what? Retirement. To do what? To be hopefully healthy, happy, peaceful, beautiful, loving, calm human being. Can we agree?
Absolutely. My only thought is, why are we waiting till we're 60?
And this is the whole point of the talk today. Because as soon as my audience will agree with that simple, basic beginning, then I say, what are you waiting for? And what we're waiting for is the story of our life that gets in the way. We're born into the world into a trauma. How could it not be, from this beautiful place in our mother's womb to suddenly be thrown out into this is traumatic for every human being, and that's our beginning. The fear installation, the insecurity that is instantly put in every person. And parents try to help us and look after us and raise us well. And we go to school and we learn all the social interaction. But throughout all that are periods of more trauma. When things go wrong, we don't have the ability to understand what's happening to us. We're young and we just absorb experience without any filter of being rational or logical, that maybe this isn't hurtful, but I don't know that, so it hurts me. And this is building the emotional baggage in our story that we carry with us. And over time, this story, right up till today, becomes who you associate yourself as. Your self-image is the story of your history. When I meet Bettina at a cocktail party and someone introduces me, and I say, "Nice to meet you, Bettina. Can you tell me something about yourself?" You start telling me your story. You tell me history. We live and get all our knowledge from yesterday. Everything we know came from our baggage from yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
For some people, that baggage is very painful. For me, it was, because I was abused and bullied psychologically and physically as a child. And so I learned, and I was told by teachers, I'm not smart, I'm a failure, I'm not good enough. This is the baggage I carried. And our first defense against our baggage is the same for everyone. We fall into an addiction called blame. Because we don't want to face our baggage, see it, feel the pain, nature says, it's your fault. It's school's fault. It was the church's fault. And now it's the government. It's the economy. It's global warming. Everybody's at fault. The world's at fault, not me. So that's an addiction that protects us. We think it's keeping it away.
It served you for that season. But when the
Exactly.
season has changed, we got to take off that coat.
The little voice in the back of the head starts saying, you're blaming everybody, but there's a truth you're not looking at.
Right.
So if the pain is bad enough, for me, I went to the next addiction. I found alcohol. And it instantly took away the pain. Oh, and I'm partying and having fun and alcohol, great. And over time, more alcohol, more, and pretty soon, it's become a new addiction. And all addiction is just trying to keep the pain away. We're medicating, numb ourselves from having to deal with the real, deep emotional issues. So for me, it doesn't happen to everyone, of course. Everyone has a different level. Everyone has other abilities to suppress pain. I used alcohol and drugs to suppress it, drive it down. Some people can just ignore and drive it down, use their will and not face it. But everyone has it. And that's an understanding that takes us to a different place. Because we pressurize under this baggage we carry. And that pressure has to escape. For some people, it escapes in angry outbursts. Temper tantrums are an escape of pressure. Alcohol to suppress. But what happens over time is the body begins to react against it and break down. We get sick because it has to express itself somewhere. And if you don't let it out intellectually, it's going to come out physically. And so depression is an expression of that built up pressure being repressed by the mind. Some people get cancer, heart disease, become obese, diabetes. These are all expressions of the stress and pressure of life that we're not allowing to get out. So the body says, sorry, time's up. I'm going to express it. Yeah. And most disease is that. Most disease comes from this.
Dis-ease, like when you don't have ease, there becomes a dis-ease. Yeah.
So many of the words we use, we compound them together, but as soon as you break them apart, you start to see the truth, like dis-ease, disorder. That's why I say disorder is not a disease. It's just a disordering. You can always reorder, right? So it's not really a disease in the sense of you caught it
Right.
We don't catch it, we create it. We just don't know we're creating it. So my story culminated in a 25-year marriage. My partner was alcoholic. She had her baggage. She had her anger. She's not dealing with. So you've got two under one house. And from the outside, you've got a house, two beautiful children, cars, a business together, vacation. We are successful. How could you not see otherwise? You could be the next door neighbor and think, what a wonderful, wonderful, loving partnership and couple and family. La, la, la. Under the roof is a storm, a war,
There
absolute
wasn't
tragedy.
ease.
No, it was an absolute mess. So I got lucky. I simply got lucky. I woke up one morning and my body said, you're getting out of here. And I had cancer. Luckiest day of my life. Nothing
Mm.
comes close to the absolute winning the world by waking up with cancer, because that triggered everything to follow in just 12 months in a pandemic. I lose my wife, my house, my business, my family in almost any way you can imagine it being a family. And I wake up alone, broken, alcoholic, and suicidal. And that begins the journey back from that moment. Exactly 1 year from day to day, 12-month period. I'm lucky also because it happened like that. For some people, if they just got cancer, it can ruin their whole life. If they just had a divorce, it can ruin their whole life. You know, you just lost your house, your business, it can ruin your life. I got all of them at once. So it opened my life. It didn't ruin it because I didn't have the time to make it a tragedy. That's what I believe now. When we have time, we evaluate, we compare, we judge, and we often fall into the tragic or negative side. I had no time. There was no time. It was just a storm, and I had to find a way to get out of the storm.
You had to take action.
Yeah,
What was your first action?
wasn't mine. Um, there was a natural understanding that I decided not to commit suicide, but it was that was out of a friend saying, "You think you're weak and broken? In 1 year, you just went through all that and it didn't kill you? You must be incredibly strong." And that was like an instant, what?
It
I
was
could be
it was a perspective shift.
I could be strong? I thought I was weak and broken. Then I looked at it and went, hey, maybe I've got some sort of superpower. And then within 2 weeks, I'm listening to a podcast. And the man on the podcast is talking about consciousness. And he said this one line. And understand before I say this line, our life is in the past. Everything about us is based in what we know, what we've been through, what we've heard, experienced, everything for every human being. We live because of yesterday, not today. All the information comes from there. So this man said, show me yesterday. That was it. Blew my whole life apart. The door flew open and the sunshine came pouring in. If my whole life was based on believing the person I was this story, what I now call the story mind.
Mm-hmm.
If that's who I believed I was, and that story almost killed me, how real can it be if I can't go to a cupboard and grab the story and go, look, Bettina, yesterday. It's not a physical thing. It's not tangible. What is real about it outside of me believing in the story? You have beliefs right now today you didn't have 10 years ago. You will have beliefs in 10 years you don't have now. So what is a belief? I should put my whole life in just a belief? Let it almost kill me because I believed something? This was just earth-shattering that I don't have to believe my story. My story isn't me. It's just something I've believed. Well, if that's the case, holy crap, the whole world's open to me. There's nothing to be afraid of, worry about. I don't have a problem because that was all in a story. Don't believe the story? I don't have any of those issues. The baggage is gone. And so it was. Now, it took months of this phrase, show me yesterday, rolling in my head over and over and over, because I'm grasping this. Because your whole life, I just spent 60 years practicing being the person in the story,
So
being
you
on
say, show
stage in
me.
my movie.
So show me yesterday. So you have spent 60 years of your yesterdays being a certain in black and white, essentially, right? In black and
It's
white.
my self-image.
Your
It's my
self-image.
self-image.
So when you chose that day moving forward to kind of, I'm just going to say color, just have a demarcation line, right? Black and white and color, just to have that demarcation line. Well, there are some movies that continue to play in black and white. When those movies want to show up, how do you terminate those movies so those black and white movies no longer exist in your life and you're only going to color?
So those black and white movies are, you might call the ego. I call it the deceiver. It is the narrator of your story.
Mm.
I think I'm not good enough, not smart enough. I always screw up. So in the morning, I'm getting a cup of coffee and I drop the cup and it smashes on the floor. The narrator shows up and goes, "You idiot, you dummy. That's just like you." We all go through this. This voice says, beats
Mm-hmm.
us up. Well, that voice is the narrator from a story's pain. And that's a thought that arises in our mind. And what we do is the thought arrives and says, "You're a dummy." And instead of looking at it and going, "That's not me," and letting it just pass away, we associate ourselves with the thought. We attach ourselves to the thought and go, "Yep, that's me. That's my thought." And then all of a sudden our mind starts rolling around. We call it a spiral, negative spiral. Down you go because you grabbed the thought. So of course the trick, the learning, the method is to become aware. You see, we live our days in habits and routines, sleepwalking through our lives because we've been practicing the story for all the years of our life. It becomes easy. So when the thought shows up, we just accept it as us. What we have to do is be awake right now, today. The thought comes and I go, "Well, that's not me." In fact, I start laughing every time a silly thought like that arrives. And what happens to the thought? It just evaporates. It
So
has
you
no
just laugh
strength.
and so that thought comes in. I just want to, the thought comes in, you acknowledge it, and you're like, "Oh, I'm not." Like,
It makes the silliness
like
of
it's
it.
the ludicrousness of it. You treat it like it's
Right,
a ludicrous
right,
because God doesn't that wasn't his life for you.
exactly.
That's not your design.
This is from this story I've believed it isn't true. So I look at it and I just go, "This is so silly that I would think that." And I laugh and it just evaporates. Because unless you attach to a belief, it has no strength
So do
because
you
it's
laugh
not
out loud or internally?
both.
All
Often
of
it's
it.
out loud. Often it's out loud. If you do not attach yourself to a belief, it has no strength. Religion is strong in people who believe deeply. They've
Yes.
attached themselves to it. I can attach myself to anything. I can attach myself to being stupid, to being dumb, to being no good. And we all do it to some degree at some level.
Yeah.
That's all it is. When you become awake and aware, you can choose to not attach.
So, but that's a habit that people have held on to.
And you create
And
a new one.
so I love that you're saying that. So what happens, right? For those who didn't go through a divorce, lose their job, get cancer, lose their business, and in the bottom of the and not just depression but addiction, right? Did I cover it all? Yeah,
Oh, I think so. And anyway, it's enough.
it's enough. I'm like, but for those who maybe just have one or two of those, right? And you don't like, we don't want to have to wait
Right.
till cancer strikes and and all that kind of stuff. And we're aware that that happens, but for some reason, it's that struggle to laugh versus laugh at the ludicrous, because we know, like in our consciousness, that it isn't true, but there's something in the subconscious that still holds on to that safe comfort of of of, of that bag. Like,
Yeah.
how does somebody unpack that and let it go and not repack it? Because so many people, they have the baggage, they open the suitcase, they see it's there, they take it out, and then when they have to move on to the next part of the journey, they repack it just in case they might need it.
Yep. Absolutely. It's an old friend.
How do you get them to just leave that old friend behind?
Well, you know, for most people, it takes a kick in the butt, like cancer, like some crisis, or someone in your family having a crisis, or any of these things that shake you awake. But everyone has the ability to wake up to it. Most people need to be shaken. And let's face it, lots of people go to the end of their life without waking up. Lots of people carry it all the way and are in pain. And there's no definite secret single magic thing that can do it other than becoming aware. And there's things that I practice and work with people in coaching of waking up, of being aware of yourself right now. I have a sticky note on my TV screen and it says, "Get off your ass." That's all. It's the TV talking to me saying, "You're looking at me. You could be doing other things. Think about getting up." I put a sticky note on my fridge. It said, "What's going to go into your mouth?" Just so when I got to the fridge, because I just wanted a snack without really thinking, sleepwalking, the sticky note might wake me up for that moment and go, "Oh, yeah, I shouldn't grab the pop. I think I'll grab something else, something better."
Mm-hmm.
Make a choice. So for me in the beginning, I had sticky notes everywhere that were all about pay attention, wake up, stop sleeping. Sleeping put you in this mess.
Think.
Sleeping in the story mind, believing and sleeping in your story. You need to be awake today because today you are not a story. You're Bettina, a beautiful, lovely human being interacting with another one. There's no story. It's just us right here, right now.
We're writing
Every
the story
moment,
now.
every moment, if we're awake, we just are being. We're not being the story. So if you're awake, you're being. You can only be the story if you're sleepwalking and your mind is thinking about yesterday or worrying about what might happen tomorrow or even 10 minutes from now. Any of those thoughts, you're not here. You're in a story. You need to be out of your story. So this is the simple things I do is just helping people pay attention, stay awake, don't fall asleep. Because we get so used to pain, it becomes a comfortable position. And that's why we can stay in it. Because the devil we know. We know we did it yesterday. We got through life. We'll get through it again today. I'm strong. I'm tough. And these things mask the reality that there is no toughness needed. It's not a strength issue. You are this. Look down into a newborn baby's face and eyes, and what do you see is not the baby. You see yourself reflected by the baby, and all
Mm-hmm.
you see is what? Love, beauty, happiness. You're not thinking, is this a good baby or a bad baby? Is this ugly? Is this smart? In that moment, it is just the reflection of you. Your heart is being reflected in the baby. That beautiful, loving happiness. Now go to the end of life. My mother died 6 weeks ago, and I was with her 2 hours before she died. And I looked into her face, and what did I see? I saw the baby. I saw the
Mm-hmm.
reflection of the same thing, love, beauty, even happiness of that life force. It's the same thing. At either end of life, we are what we are our entire life. But we've believed in a story that has covered it up. You are the blue sky and sunshine. But we live looking at the clouds and being afraid and worried. And is it going to be a storm? Is it going to rain in 5 minutes? Oh my God, it rained yesterday and ruined everything. Constantly playing this movie script that we believe is real. And by being here right now, we edit the script, we edit the story, we keep the good memories, we keep the skills and tools and techniques and knowledge that helps us in life, and we pass on to our children. Great stuff. But the
So let
part
me
of the
ask you,
movie,
what have you kept in your bags through your 60 that you've carried with you through your 60 years? So what are some things that you threw away and left behind? And what are some things that you've kept in your luggage and are choosing to continue to move forward with?
I look at my mind as the story mind, which tends to be the drama, the dramatic movie, the Hollywood script, and a toolbox mind. And those are tools for functioning every day. Feeding myself, clothing myself, working at a job, doing my best, being focused, being intentional, being disciplined, all these wonderful things that we throw around the world that are going to make us great. Those are good things.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with them. But the drama of the movie made in Hollywood, and I'm the lead actor, that ego, that deceiver is me on stage telling me I have to stay with the story. Yep, you got good tools, use them, but don't forget the story, because you got a hammer. You can build something or you can destroy something with it. The deceiver goes, careful, careful you don't destroy it. Careful you don't break yourself or hurt someone. A silly story. The hammer doesn't care. It's just a hammer. I get to use my toolbox mind to know I can do good things with the hammer. I can build, I can create, I can help others. So the idea is you start releasing the drama, the Hollywood from your life, because the reality of the story is not true. And the more you understand that and begin to believe it and pay no attention to those thoughts as they arise like clouds on your blue sky, they start to dissipate and dissolve. And
So
after 6 months,
what's the biggest challenge at the beginning of dissolving that? What
staying
was your
awake,
biggest staying
staying
away?
awake. And you've got to be awake to recognize the thought.
So what would
Sleepwalking
happen?
is thoughts just arrive.
So what so the thoughts would just arrive and
Yeah.
then you'd go with like give me an example of how like maybe like one day of sleepwalking and what kind of maybe one moment of sleepwalking what that looks like and the counter of being awake and aware.
Yeah. What's a really easy example? Ever driven home from work at the end of a day? Maybe you're a little tired. You walk into the house, you slap your keys down on the kitchen counter, and all of a sudden you go, wow, I don't even remember driving home. I don't
uh,
remember anything about it. How could that be? How could that be possible? It's only possible because of your sleepwalking routine, behavior, the habits that you've leaned on for so many years. You can do them blindfolded.
so
They
during that
are.
time you're daydreaming or you're having a conversation with somebody or like you're just daydreaming.
Absolutely. And we all do it. We have simple habits and routines we follow without thinking at all. We don't have to think. It's happening. It's programmed. It's our story.
Hmm.
We just know. And there's no way to describe how it's possible because that's almost an esoteric woo woo thing. How could you do things and not know? Because it's so subconscious, because you're not awake. And when you wake up, that drive home is suddenly you experience and see things and you remember all sorts of things. And you're thinking instead of thoughting. Have you ever tried thoughting, Bettina?
Tell me about thoughting. No, think. I like this thinking versus thoughting. Let's dive deeper into thinking versus thoughting.
Have you ever practiced thinking?
Well, I think I've
Right.
practiced thinking on purpose.
Right now, you and I are thinking
Yes.
because we're conscious and active. Okay? You can't be a thoughter. You can't practice thoughting because thoughts are what just arise. You don't ask for them. Thoughts are just happening all the time, 10 to 30,000 of them a day. The chatter in your head, that's thought.
So
But
when
it's
the
not
thought comes, that's usually the thoughts come when you're sleepwalking.
in your story. Normal life.
Okay.
Thinking is proactive. You decide to do something. You're working at your job or whatever task, making dinner. You are thinking. You're not thoughting. You're actually doing. You're conscious and aware right now. When you just sit or you're daydreaming at work or whatever, and whenever, even in conversations, people will have daydreams and thoughts popping up and they're not really there.
They're
You know, when
thoughting.
you say to someone talking to you, look at me, look at my eyes, pay attention. You say to a child, why? Because they're not really there. We're
They're
elsewhere.
busy, they're busy thoughting versus thinking.
Exactly. You can't have thoughts when you're thinking. They're destroyed. They cannot be present because they only work if you're not conscious in the moment. That's the only time they can arise. Your whole story only lives because you're not in attention. It doesn't exist when you're in attention.
That's so interesting because there's also incredible value in daydreaming. Like I used to hit the ground running. Like, okay, I'm awake. Let's just go, right? And then I had somebody that said, hey, that time when you're half awake, use it to dream and
Yeah,
create.
absolutely. Absolutely. It's a wonderful
So,
thing. Daydreams are just, I think, just the most precious little moments. But if you think about them, there's no story to them.
okay.
I really think daydreams are the body and mind together going, let's just chill for a second, just slow it down. And you're not really thinking or thoughting. It just is a moment, a break for you. And that we consciously need to take breaks.
Yeah.
Like every big thinker throughout history has done what simple thing? Had a nap in the middle of the day. We do it with children when they're young. The reason isn't because they don't have the energy. It's because we instinctually know the siesta.
Yes.
There's an instinct in human beings of that dropping it down, not into thought or thinking, but just to escape the whole thing.
So, Dallas, you know what's crazy? My husband is siestas. And he's the best. But I used to get so annoyed. Turns out
Yeah.
this is a wife thing. Like, like, like so annoyed. I'm like, we have so much to do. Why are you sleeping? He literally has this ability. He goes into bed and he puts a pillow over his head. And then I'm like, I hear him deep breathing. And then I discovered the Miracle Morning. Great. I did my Miracle Mornings and then worked my full day. Ben Franklin would have 2 miracle mornings because he'd take a nap in the day. And then I've learned all these great things about naps and then about daydream and like staying in bed and spending that time. And I was like, oh my gosh, what happened that I fell for? The go, 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 do, win, when really we need to slow down, wake up, make choices, allow ourselves to make these choices. And I love that you do that. Maybe take time to unpack the baggage and choose what to take on your journey or not take on your journey.
And I will question when you say, I've got so much to do. I would say, you don't have anything to do. None of us do. That's a creation of the mind. What do you have to do? Tell me what you have to do. You have the toolbox that allows you to put a roof over your head, to feed yourself and your children. You have the toolbox to put clothes on. What do you need to do? What is it we need to do? The end goal is what? Happiness. What do we need to do? Everything we think is something, a thing we need to achieve, get to, reach the goal, the dream, to meet the challenge, get the A grade, pass the test. Why? What is that about? That's attachment to believing something out there will get us to that beautiful peace, love, happy in here. That's our mistake. This is our folly. This is the story. A
I
hundred
love
years of the
I love that you say in here because it's already in here. It's
exactly.
already there. We're like you're like all these things that you just listed are things out there to
Exactly.
discover the thing that is already in here.
100 years of the personal development industry. A million books, billions of dollars spent. 50 years ago, 90% of people don't reach their goals. They just give up. We've all done it. From New Year's Eve resolutions to a real written out goal, and we don't achieve it. 90% of people don't. And today it's the same stat. Why haven't we gotten better? Why isn't the improvement actually happening? It's simple. You've got a story that says you're not going to reach it. And we've got an industry that says, work harder, beat it up, smash it down, discipline, drive, you can do it, reach your dreams. This is a fallacy. It's a fantasy because all of it is projected to when I get to that, I will have this. And that's the lie. And your real mind, your true self, what you are, not who you are, what you are knows because it is the love, the happiness, it is the destination. And everything else, the who you think you are, is trying to fight and scrap and succeed and come out on top and climb the mountain to get to what? To what you truly are. We've been fooled. You can go there today and then enjoy the goals, enjoy the journey, enjoy the work, enjoy the people, but you don't make them the attachment that means you're going to get something. I get nothing from my child. My child gets their life, I get mine. I share my love. The child is not my love. You and I are married and we are in love. My love is not in you. Yours is not in me. We have our own. We come together and we share our love. And we enjoy the sharing of it. And then we're a couple. But we pretend, I need your love. And people are heartbroken when they lose their partner or their partner divorces them and leaves them. Why? Because I attached my love to you. It's not real. You can't make me happy. You can't make me sad. I have to accept the feeling. It's all in me. But we project it so much onto a thing. I love my car. I love my house. Oh, I'm watching the news from the fires in California and Palisades, and all the houses are just devastated. Looks like the Gaza bombing. It's just horrible.
Yeah.
A reporter is standing between a woman about 40 and a man about 70. Turns out it's a father and daughter. They live 3 blocks apart. They've both lost everything. The daughter is weeping. She's absolutely in tears and shaking, and the reporter's talking to her, and she's explaining she's lost her whole life. All her memories, all those years, all the work to be there and have that home. She raised her family. I mean, everything is in this house, and she's distraught. And then the reporter notices that the man is almost smiling and calm. And you can see the reporter's face like dumbfounded and looks at the man and says, "What's your story? You don't seem to be too upset." Yeah. And he goes, and all he says is, "It's just stuff."
Yeah.
There is the whole example of attachment We attach to things outside of ourselves, and we're devastated when they don't meet our expectations, or they break, or we lose them, or they leave us. We're
How do
devastated.
you,
But the man was, it's all about me. It's not about stuff.
so how does he, so, and we see this a lot, right?
Mhm.
And between the, in the different seasons in people's lives, right? If you were to, let's say, teach somebody who's in their teens, in their 20s, in their 30s, in their 40s, because there's like, what would you go back and say? Because there's so much value. I mean, yeah, we do need to strive for, like, as a parent, I want to be able to uh, uh, provide for my children a certain lifestyle,
Right.
right? Which requires
Work.
things,
Yep.
work, which is different than accomplishing these things so that I can find happiness.
Right.
But
That's the big secret right there.
but I also find a lot of joy in seeing the joy in my children.
Of course. Absolutely. There's
So,
not a contradiction, because the breaking point is the attachment. You can have great joy in playing golf and great joy in seeing your child do well in school and great joy in your car, that you love your car and drive and go for a drive and enjoy your day and just have some time off. All those things are enjoyment, and we're here to enjoy, but we're not here to make that enjoyment, which is pleasure, desires. We don't make that the reason we're actually who we are. Because if it
oh, it
is,
doesn't
those things,
define us.
exactly. Happiness is not pleasure. They're
It's
totally
already
different.
in you. Yeah. So the happiness, you're happy, your joy, you're bringing, that's what you're bringing to the table because it's already within you.
Pleasure is just enjoying the stuff, the things you attain, the work you do, the places you go, the things you experience. That's pleasure.
It pleases me.
Exactly. But it's not about your happiness. It doesn't decide whether you're happy or not.
So the 70-year-old man, he's happy with the house, without the house. He's
He's content in himself,
he's pleased.
with
That
himself.
they gave him pleasure, but he's happy that his daughter is probably alive.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Well, why not?
But
Yeah.
it is just stuff. I get that. Okay. Okay.
We
So
attach.
going back, so if you look at your life pre-cancer, pre-divorce, pre-job loss,
That's enough. That's
pre-business
enough.
loss, pre all that, right?
Yeah.
What would you say your energy was like then
Oh,
versus 12 months later?
my energy was terrible. My energy was panic, frustration, fear, insecurity, scrambling all the time, constantly aware of that. I barely slept through a whole night in 25 years.
Oh,
Every time I lay my head down, the storm is just going wild. Couldn't sleep. I mean, you're exhausted all the time. And like when you mentioned get out of bed in the morning and go, that's what it's like. When you're in that, it's a storm of just constant struggle and
well,
push and
that
push.
was a taught behavior, right?
Absolutely. Our
I, I
whole,
and I think about it, I wasn't raised that way.
but you live in a culture that also is a story mind culture. And the
Yeah.
story of the culture is that attachment, attainment, achievement, everything outside. And it shows you from the time you're a child to go, 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 push, succeed, win. We go to school, and what do we learn? We learn the goal, we learn the achievement, we learn to succeed, to jump the hoop into the next grade, to get the score, make the grade, get on the team. Everything is pushing us towards a goal. And then what we just mentioned about personal development not working, well, this happens culturally. People get into their 20s, and what happens? They start failing. because the goal they're not going to reach. They start giving up on dreams and go, well, I'm okay with this job. It's not the dream job, but it'll work for me. They start accepting a lesser achievement because.
Is there
Sorry?
value in that?
In what?
Is there value in, I don't know how, settling for less than for that period of time?
No.
So
No, there isn't. But this is my point.
So what is it that keeps them from going through? Sorry, keep going. Yeah.
Well, here's the point. The second stage happens in the cultural story knows that the attainment, achievement, personal development, winning doesn't work for 90% of the people. And so what does it do? It suddenly tells us a new story. It says it's not the destination. It's the journey. The journey is the wisdom, the richness of life, the experience. Another lie. Because
so what's the truth?
The journey satisfies us compromising and not reaching our dreams, not reaching our goals. It satisfies, oh, it's not the goal, it's the journey. Relax. It's okay.
But how do you get to your goal without doing the getting up and going?
You already agreed to it. We already agreed in the first 5 minutes of this podcast. What's the goal?
Happy.
That is a destination, and it's the only destination. It will never go away. No journey will change it. No striving for another goal outside of that will ever change.
So if the happiness is already within you, so it sounds like we just need to strive with our happy as our no. So how do we strive? How do we find? How do we enjoy? How do we live a life of pleasure and bring our joy and happiness that's already within us?
Can you seek happiness? Is it somewhere you can go find it, like on a treasure hunt?
No, but the happiness and the joy is already within us.
And what do you want?
Happiness and joy.
So, come on.
I also like pleasure. I also like a phenomenal roof over my head. I enjoy the views. I enjoy driving my car. I enjoy going to the grocery store versus like there's a lot of things that I enjoy, but that requires, how do you get that balance?
Because
how do you get that balance?
Because you can't seek it. You are it. So everything else is an attachment. I think I will find happiness if I attain this. The change is the working, the living, the loving, the sharing is just pleasurable. It is not value. We have decided this is better than that. A bigger house, a newer car, a bigger achievement, a new promotion. Those things don't give us the happiness. They are just pleasure to enjoy. The separation is, it's a game. Tomorrow I'm going to learn tennis. What's going to happen? I'm terrible at it. I have to learn and practice and work at it. And what do I get out of it? Great pleasure. I learned to love playing tennis. And I love playing, and now I'm just happy playing tennis. That's pleasure. Well, your job's no different. Your car, attainment, achievement, all those are the same. But none of them, if I woke up the next morning and couldn't play tennis ever again, would change that I'm happy already. That's what we get to. That's the understanding. If there's anything to achieve, it's to, instead of self-improvement, it's self-removement. We remove ourselves from the attachment of the game and leave it as just that: fun, excitement, joy, life, not the meaning of life.
So let me understand. So when you lost everything, right, and made the decision to not commit suicide and to recognize that you were and do that switch, that you were strong already, that you weren't weak, that those things didn't happen because you were weak. you got through those things because you were strong. And that's when you were able, with nothing, to discover that the strength was already in you, the happy was already in you, the joy was already in you, even though you
Okay,
had
now,
nothing.
nothing, no thing is everything. We are attached to something. We want something. We work hard for something. When you don't have a thing anymore, it's you. You're everything. You're all that it is. Everything you think is something is blinding us. That's the
Well,
cloud, so we don't see ourselves.
I would love for everybody to be able to see themselves, including myself and everybody, without having to give all of our things away and become monks, right, for a
Oh, no,
year.
no. It's not what
Like,
I'm saying.
I
No,
know it's
no.
not what you're saying. So how do we achieve? So we're awake and we become aware, right?
Hmm.
And we recognize that the happiness is in us.
Well, just because you're awake doesn't mean you're aware. Those are very different things.
I love that. So
You can be awake and still have problems, right? You can be awake and still have frustrations. You can be awake and
absolutely.
still get in an argument with someone. You can be awake and still be dissatisfied. That's what awareness is. Tell me a single problem in your life, and I will show you it doesn't exist. It's in your mind. You're not aware that it's false. You can be awake, but you're not aware. You can get angry at someone who said something to you. It's complete false reality. No one can make you angry. Why did you get angry? Because you weren't aware. You may have been present, but you weren't aware. Because when you're aware, there's not a problem in your life. There's not a reason to be upset. There's not a worry. There's not a concern. There's not a frustration. These things aren't real. We
So
attach to them and believe they are. We give them importance and they control our behavior. They're not real. No one has a problem. There's not a problem in your life. If you point to any problem, I will show you it's a situation. It's a moment in your life you either deal with or you don't. That's executive action. That's your toolbox mind. The story mind is, oh, should I do this? Oh, should I do that? Would this be a problem? Oh, this could go wrong. This might be better. What was that? A creation, a fallacy. You're being fooled by that ego deceiver little voice in your head telling you a problem is something to worry about. When you were a child, we were all shown problems. 2 plus 2 equals, come on,
four,
Bettina, you can do
four,
it. This is a problem.
five, four, yeah,
All it is a math problem. It
yeah.
doesn't associate to a psychological problem, to a worry, a concern, a frustration, until we decide it is. Later in life, problems are problems. We stress over our problems. It's just a situation like 2 plus 2. That's the reality. We have created a story that tells us it's something completely different, and we're attached to it. And even though we're aware, present, we're not aware because we're in the story mind still when we think we're here.
Hmm. Well, you know what? Who's somebody said? Oprah. I'm going to quote Oprah here. You know what you know until you know different, right? And I think that's why these conversations are so important. Is
but
it
but
helps us know different.
I would even go to the point you already knew.
Mm.
That
Because you
baby's
were
face,
born with it.
that reflection of love and beauty and everything, you already have the knowledge. You already know it. It's just been masked. It's been covered up by the drama, the movie, the story, the world around you. We think, oh my God, the politics changes. Someone gets elected president, and it's the end of the world. It's silly. We're just
Right.
jumping into a story. We're just being emotional in a story that isn't real. It doesn't matter. Tomorrow morning, you wake up and lo and behold, the sun came up. Lo and behold, I've got my life to run. Nothing's going to change.
Nothing
Nothing.
changed.
nothing ever does change because you are always right there. You have always known who you are right here. You just don't let it out as often as you should. You just don't share it as often as you should. And you don't accept it in everyone else. If I'm frustrated by anyone, angered by anyone, it's because I don't accept that they are a beautiful, loving, happy person. That's all we are. We just get the clouds get in the way and we make judgments and comparisons and all these egotistical moments that break
Yeah.
our relationship into conflict when it doesn't exist. The reason I call myself a 16-hour coach,
Yeah. I wanted to ask.
when I began to heal and I went through all the stages, I have books I've written that are basically all the stages. I had to take small steps. A child has to learn from tiny little steps, little experiences, little bites at a time, and we grow. Well, it's the
Yeah.
same thing at any age. If I decide to go to the gym tomorrow, I have to make small steps. I could hurt myself if I try to do too much.
Right.
So everything's about small bites. So I looked at my life and went, I had this thought, I had the year of life collapse.
Yeah.
And this brought me the insight that the recovery is to collapse life. And what I mean by that is you have one day, 24 hours. If you
Mm-hmm.
sleep 8 hours, you have 16 hours where you're actually awake. You can be conscious. You can be present and aware. 16 hours.
Yeah.
As it turns out, our reality is you only ever have one day. There's no such thing as time. There's no past, no future. Everything you will ever do in your entire life, you're doing it right now. You won't do something tomorrow because when you wake up in the morning, you're here today. So if I took my whole life and I simply said, like they do in AA, one day at a time,
Yeah.
I'll just take one day. And in this day, can I spend 30 minutes and maybe go for a walk or do something for my body? Yeah, I can probably do that in one day. Can I eat a little better today? It's about an hour, hour and a half of our lives is into getting food.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can probably do that today. Could I call someone and tell them I love them? Could I check in on a family member or a friend? Yeah, I could do that today. Could I do some really good focused work to earn an income to pay for my roof and my... Yeah, I can do that today. Do I have to make it all a big deal? No, not
No.
really. I do it every day. I work with elderly people and often they'll tell me one of their fears is they're out of time. Life went
Mm.
by so quick. You hear
Yeah.
this from people all the time.
Yeah.
And I say, wow, really? I've got all day.
And how does that shift when you share that with them? Does it
Well,
bring them peace?
one statement, sentence, tool, trick doesn't change a person. It's a culmination of lots.
Mm-hmm.
We can get an idea from someone, and 3 months later, that
It
idea is rolled
clicks.
around, and then we go, I remember when that person told me this, it was the greatest thing I ever heard. Well, it was only the greatest once you consumed it over time and it became something that connected with you. So not one thing makes people explode, almost never. I mean, sometimes it does. If you're at the very bottom like I was, that one statement, boom,
Right.
because I was empty at the bottom.
You were
I
ready.
didn't have anything in the way. Nothing was telling me that I was something.
Yeah.
I was so broken, there was nothing. Everything was darkness. It was bleak, the end, I'll just take my life.
Mm.
So when you're there, that one statement can lift you right out because it connects much easier. Less in our mind, and we'll know more. We have foresight and hindsight and insight, so much sight we can't see. We've got so much knowledge, we're not intelligent because we're just covered in data and information. Social media has been a disaster. Why? Because it's an overload of opinion and argument and struggle and fighting. Everyone's showing their story. And so yours becomes overloaded. And that's why we've got a mental health crisis brewing in the world with young people, because their brains were not meant to be overloaded with all this data. They need the room to go walk in a forest, to sit on a beach, to have that daydream, to have all those moments of what? Nothing.
Nothing.
Our intelligence is in our nothing, not in our something. We think it's more knowledge, more skills, more tools. They're all fun things for pleasure. They're not for the intelligence of what we are. Those are who you are things. Those are image. That's the picture you present to the world, the mask you throw on when you go to the meeting and show how strong you are and decisive and all these things. That's the game we play. But who is not what? Who is the image in this story? What is that baby's face or the dying elderly person's face? That it reflects what it is really happening, what we really are experiencing. And we're covered up with this story thinking it is us. It is there for us to enjoy. That's the beauty of the world. Why can you go look at a flower and stare at it intensely and feel beauty in the flower and not compare it to another flower, not get judgmental, just see the beauty? That's because that's who we are. We are the flower. Everything beautiful is us reflecting ourselves. It's not what we see, it's what we see in here. The flower's beautiful because I'm beautiful.
Yeah.
You're the most important person on this planet. And so is everyone else. If Bettina wasn't here, she wouldn't experience anything, would she? She wouldn't know what a hug is, a kiss is. She wouldn't know what a beautiful sunset or sunrise is. You're the most important person in the world because you are that sunshine, that sunrise, that flower. You are your beautiful child. You are your beautiful mother or father. Everything and every opinion is the story you've created around it. Accept that you are that, and accept that all those other things, the whole movie, life around you, is just the experience. It's not a meaning that decides you.
So tell me about your emotional baggage handler. What is the thinking process behind that? I like that. I like that.
Go sit in an airport and watch people come in with their bags. And some people have a little bag and they just fly along and straight to check in. And other people are struggling and they've got a backpack and 3 suitcases and they're like frustrated and burned out, and maybe they're yelling at their partner to keep up. And what's happening? Well, one is handling their bags. In the physical world, this is all I need. Zoom, in I go, off I go. And the other person tries to bring their whole life, every struggle and everything that they might need on this trip or this vacation or whatever it is. And they're struggling. Well, it's the same thing in our minds. You are the baggage handler. Are you handling your bags? Are your bags dragged behind you and wearing you out and slowing you down and making you tired and making you regretting yesterday and worried about tomorrow?
Making you regretting you came on this trip. Right.
And people do. And people do.
Interestingly, I've been on both ends of that spectrum. I've been on the, carrying my 2-year-old son, and he has 2 bags. I have 2 bags. Maybe he was 3 because he had 2 bags. I had my 2 bags. Carry on, the whole bit. And then my youngest, right? So he's 26 now, and she's 14 now, and we've done the, 3-week trip with the backpack.
Right.
And now our whole family, we just got back from Cancun, And it was the same thing. We each just had 10 days, one carry-on, one backpack, small backpack.
What? So what
It
was
was
the lesson?
easy.
The lesson was lighten your load.
Lighten our load. Yeah.
So emotionally, spiritually, psychologically, anyone can lighten their load.
And you know what?
Put down the unneeded baggage.
But here's what I've also discovered, like so many people. Well, first of all, there's a season where we wanted stuff, and then we got rid of the stuff. And then you have, like when you travel, you're like, well, I might need this for this occasion. I might need this for this occasion. I might need this for this occasion. So, like, sometimes I feel like people carry, like, maybe their emotional baggage in case they get into this situation.
Masks. I might need all 5 of my masks. Who knows what's going to come up?
Versus just showing up authentically and just be like, okay, here it is, because it's only a situation. This too shall pass.
You've been to Cancun, so you go to a nightclub at night and people are there with thongs on their feet and blah, blah, blah. And a few people are dressed nicely.
Yeah.
And you can see it right there. Some people, well, I'm on vacation. I don't have to dress like I do back home. And some people are, I got to bring my nice jacket. I got to bring this. I got to bring that. Because I want to bring my mask of who I think I am. That's part of the story. That's part of the baggage. That's part of all our self-image that we want to bring with us and present to the world.
And they enjoy that self-image, and they enjoy
Absolutely. Absolutely. Everyone enjoys their self-image or they wouldn't keep it. But there's another side to it, that it also has painful baggage with that self-image. And they still play off against it. We still work to have the image. And that's when we start projecting it outwardly. Oh, my image needs a nicer car. So people will go, oh, he's successful. Look at the car he's driving now. So we're always projecting out into that image, even when we're happy and enjoying the image. We're not really the happy person doing it. We're the pleasure seeker doing it. And that's the attachment that breaks this distance, and the pain will be stronger because of it. Because you're further away from the what you really are by projecting out there to things again, to that image.
Would you find that that since you broke down, right? I'm just going to call it the
Sure.
that breakdown, that you break down and you discovered the core, the foundation of happy, that's the meaning of, I'm just going to say the meaning of life is the happiness that's already within us. And as you've built upon that, right? And built where you're at now, where have you found that you're able to keep that happy and that belief, that new belief?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
With ease?
It's easy, and now I have 10 times the energy I used to have.
Because you sleep because I noticed you said 8 hours of sleep, when before you didn't get 8 hours, you didn't spend 8 hours sleeping.
Lucky if I got 4 for 25 years.
Oh, that's a I don't know that's, I guess you can't function. I was like, I don't think you can function at that, but I guess you just testified you can't function at that for very long, forever.
And I got drunk every day.
That's why I got drunk
every day. I got drunk every day. That was the dead sleep I got was when I was dead drunk. Every day. Every day.
And that's not good sleep.
And went to work every day. Ran a business. Was successful every day. And was drunk every day. This physical thing has unbelievable resilience until it doesn't. And you get cancer and your whole life explodes into pieces. But for years, we are so resilient. This explains to me, I think, why some people, that 10% who reach all their goals, who seem to be lucky, super successful, They have this power to be so resilient, they can demolish that pain and push the bag down. It's like you have a garbage bag under the sink. You can fill it with garbage in a matter of a day or two with all these kids and things happening. But sometimes you can take it with your hand and push the garbage right down and compact it every day. All of a sudden, you can go a week before you have to take out the garbage.
They have a trash compactor of emotions for their emotional baggage. They have
Guess what? Really
emotional bag.
successful people. Guess what? Amazingly successful people have a talent to be able to do. They can take every piece of trash and compact it so small it has no apparent effect. And I can drink alcohol every day, and I can function in my business, and I can, you name it. Wow, what responsible person he is. So no one sees what's going on. Now, that's my belief. I don't know, we don't know anything as the truth, but the evidence suggests that's what's happening. But it shows up. It shows up no matter who you are. No one gets to that end of life and goes, man, I won. I've got 50 cars and 12 houses and I beat everybody. Nobody does. Because reality shows up. And it just says none of that stuff is what you are. That's the who. That's the image. Everyone. No one gets there and relies on the who we are.
So on your deathbed, whenever that should happen, because it will happen on that deathbed.
It's already happened.
Well, the next time, right? How is that internal dialogue going to be different than this last time?
Because the last time is what most people go through at the end of their life. That is the death of their story.
So how is your next one different?
Well, explain. Most people are afraid of dying. Would you agree?
Yes. I think,
Okay.
well, I don't know. I think most people are afraid of dying till they get to close enough to the end, and then there's the acceptance.
I'm talking about before you're there. When you're on the journey, almost everyone is afraid of the end of the journey, of death. I would suggest no one's afraid of dying. No one's afraid of death. They're afraid of ending their story. They're so attached to the meaning of life in the meaning of their story. They know that is going to end. And that's what they're afraid of, because who would you be without your story? If you woke up tomorrow morning and you had amnesia, you had no story, no history, that scares the hell out of people because they wouldn't know who they are. And for me, that's what happened to me. I woke up with amnesia. I had no story. And what did it do? It said, this is who you are. This is the real who you are. You're not a story, and you're totally free now. You're free of anxiety, of worry, of trouble, of situations that bother you. It's all done. You died, so now you can live. So guess what? When you get to the end of that life and you look in that face of the dying person, they're not afraid anymore. You just said it. There's a reason. They're free now. I'm free. Every time you get to this place, you're completely free. People talk. At first, I looked at myself and went, it was this simple? I can't believe it took me 60 years. There's the ego. Because the reality is that had nothing to do with it. You're here. None of that stuff is there. And so when you're here, there is no time. You get it. If I got it for half an hour before my death, happiest person in the world, greatest life on the planet, luckiest man alive. If I get it at 20, terrific. If I get it at 60, fabulous. It's always there. It's always waiting for us. And it's in the gift. The gift is the book I wrote. The gift is the present, the one day, the 16 hours. You get to be here. and just be happy and enjoy all the pleasures that life offers without attaching to them and labeling them as important or unimportant, as dramatic to you or not.
Yeah.
Just enjoy it. Just love it. What else is there? There is nothing else. That's why the baby's face and the dying face are the same, because that's what you really are. It's just the most beautiful thing you can imagine. And, religions and philosophies have been pointing to this for thousands of years, and we just don't listen.
Yeah.
Jesus didn't look at his disciples and say, I am the light of the world. He said the opposite. He looked at the disciples and he said, you are
You.
the light of the world. What was he saying? He's saying that we are that baby's face and the dying face, the love, the beauty. That's all we are. Every religion and philosophy has pointed to the same thing over and over again. We get
Yeah.
lost in, what do we get lost in the Bible? In the story. We're not getting the singular important message that it tries to backstop itself with. You are the most important person in the world. You are the light. Your only reason is to express it and let it out. It's that simple, though. It is that
Yeah.
simple.
It is
Life
that
is
simple.
simple.
I love
We've
this
made,
message.
we've created this complex story, a complex world around us, that we have to be afraid of climate change and war and politics and economics, fear, and insecurity. Life is simple.
I don't think that we created that. That was somebody, a phenomenal marketing team that put that out there.
You're a part of the we. You're a part of the we.
We're part of the we.
I'm
You and
afraid
I are.
we are an insane animal. That story has made us insane. We will spend 2.5 trillion with a T, trillion dollars this year killing each other. That's not a sane and loving creature. You
All
got
right.
to admit, that's an insanity.
$2.5 trillion on what?
Weapons of war, on committing war, on killing each other. And why do we do it? Because of this story of fear and insecurity. Not because you are the light of the world. No one who's the light of the world will hurt another soul. You've been confused and fooled by a story that makes you insecure and fearful. And so we point at the other and we blame the other to the point we're willing to kill the other. We've been fooled.
Well, unfortunately, I think that's the way the human race almost didn't survive, because they used to just take out the village next door, right? It's
Right.
And back to what you said, people, we think we're civilized.
Mm-hmm.
So there's
And we
so
are.
much.
And we are. We are. We just don't let it out. We're not letting that come out. If I stand before you right now,
I would argue that I love how I don't believe that that is true of everyone. And
that's a belief.
it is my belief, and I enjoy that belief. I do enjoy the belief that people are generally good, right? And that we all have more in common than we don't. We're
Absolutely.
really in 99% cohesive,
Right. We are.
and releasing the judgment of 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 like the way things should be or not should be, or when they're actually preferences,
We want them to be.
right? Of preferences. If
Yeah.
we can release our preferences and recognize that that's a preference, is not a right or a wrong. I do believe that people are generally good, and the happiness is inside of us. And like my mentor said, show up, bring the joy. And
Yeah.
it's really all there already.
Yeah.
And that book, Pursuit of Happiness, that was what that cover, right? Like we have to pursue happiness. So that's really good. But before we, right? Before we wrap up completely, is there anything that we didn't cover? You're like, man, I really want to make sure that we cover this today.
Oh, we could go on for 3 more hours easily.
Easily.
If I was to stand before you today, you didn't know me,
Mm-hmm.
and I said, I'm struggling with my mental health.
Yeah.
I am always suffering anxiety. I am regretting my past. I was abused as a child. I have trauma. And I'm trying and I'm struggling. And I'm coming out to say this because I hope it helps others, that we can be strong.
Yeah.
Your reaction and the reaction of experts and medical professionals and psychologists, we know what it is. It's, oh, what a wonderful person. What bravery. What courage. We support them. We're standing behind them. Wouldn't you agree? That would be the response.
If it serves them.
Yeah. But if I came before you, you don't know me, and I stand up and say, I am happy. I am absolutely in love with the world, with every person in it. I don't have a worry, a concern, a past. I don't have a history. I don't have a future. I only have me living today. You know what your response and experts and everything would be? He's delusional. There's something wrong with him.
I think
There's
that
the
might need to
story.
find new friends. That
There's the
you're not in the
story.
right. You're not in the right. If you're standing up and saying that, and they're calling you delusional, go stand in front of somebody else.
But look at the world. That is what it's saying. It's telling you you're delusional to say that out loud. It's
I
telling
think
you real life is hard. It's a
Dallas.
struggle.
I'm going to argue with you on this,
Good,
and
good.
because I'm respectfully going to disagree with. Not that that's the way your world is. I'm going to just
No, it
like,
is.
I'm not going to disagree that that's the way your world is, but I do disagree that that's not my world.
I agree with you. Now,
Okay.
this is what I'm saying. I'm not saying just you. That's why I said the medical professional, the general public out there, they see the difficult struggle of life as normal. And if you just
That's
said life was
not,
easy, they would think it's abnormal.
I think that the messaging is, that messaging has to change.
Absolutely. That's the whole
And
point of our discussion.
so when you say that that is the normal, I'm going to argue that that's your normal, but that's not
No,
my normal.
yeah, it's not mine either.
So, but when you say that it's the normal,
If we have 100 years of talk therapy, what's its reason? And why hasn't it worked?
I don't know. I don't know.
But this is the point I just made. We have a whole entire culture that is there to support you because you're not well.
Okay.
We do not have a culture that supports you because you are well. That's
I
the point.
cannot be, so when we say we're not talking about the we between you and me. You're talking
No,
about the we in your world.
our entire culture around us, the reason there's war and destruction and fear and pain is because that is the image the world presents
There
to
is
us.
more. I'm going to argue there is more to the world. That is a small part of the world. And I'm not saying it doesn't exist, because it does absolutely exist.
Right?
The bigger part of the world, right? The bigger part of the world. And I want to make sure that we all focus on the bigger part, on the part that serves us. The bigger part of the world is that we have communities that serve and love and care.
Absolutely.
And and I truly believe that that's the world that we live in. we don't live in a world of people that are just crazy and lunatics and maybe a different preference. And I do see my privilege right now, but I've also chosen a path, right? I've made some choices. There's been some demarcation lines, like you had the, from the black and white to the color.
Sure.
There's been some demarcation lines where not making that choice, not going down that road, not listening to those people, not having that. I don't have the news in my life.
Right, but
So
this is my point. You have edited your story. You have put down a lot of bags. You can live with this clarity that you are this happiness, that loving and sharing
we
is the
all
real world.
can, and we all can.
Right, but our whole discussion today is the problem is the story that people don't put down, the baggage they do carry that drags them down.
It's
You
only
are
a
one,
situation, but you said it's
of
only a
course it is.
situation.
Right,
So
right.
today, if you find that baggage, how we're just going to take one article of emotion, right? And look at it, be aware of it, and choose to repack it, or choose to give it to. There's a lot of people that would like to have that emotion and carry it with them because that's who they choose them. That's their identity, right?
That's because they believe that's who they are. Yes.
That's their identity.
Right.
So I'd love for us to really focus on redefining. Which book do you have on that? That's
Got a
an
phone?
amazing tool to redefine our
Okay.
identity. How do you use it?
Exactly. I would say to everyone, sit down and record your story. Videotape yourself telling that phone your entire story. Maybe you need to do it about 3 times over a few weeks to remember as much as you can about your past, your story, who you are, your biography. Do it into that phone and then play that movie back. That
Mm.
movie is who you believe you are right up to this moment. Yesterday became a part of your story from history. It's not just your childhood. You put it
I
down
love
in
that.
that phone, put it down there, and so you can look at it. Because if you can become objective of your story, of your life, get yourself out of it for a moment and see it. Use this thing as a tool to find what's really going on in you. You will begin to see the cracks. You'll begin to see parts of the story that maybe don't add up. When you see yourself, it's why does a friend
Or that might
can
not
see
serve
what,
you. Yeah.
a friend can listen to what you say and see things that you don't see, understand things you didn't understand. It's because of that objectiveness. If you can get outside yourself, your story will become much clearer. You'll begin to see little breaks in it that, gee, is that real? Did I really need to? Is that, oh
Yeah.
man, is that baggage I really need? It'll
So
start to
Dallas,
do it.
you want to know something fun with that? Take that story, transcribe, drop it in YouTube or transcribe, however, drop it into AI, right?
Mm-hmm.
Long form. There's ChatGPT has some pre-programmed stuff, but then you have it like identify the story and then retrain me to reframe my story, maybe, right? To take it to reframe my story so that I can utilize that to strengthen me, to empower me, to grow me, to live, to fulfill, to unmask and to live authentically. And then every single day, ask AI, remind me of my authenticity. How is my story?
Yeah.
Reframe my story for my authenticity.
Yeah, I call it editing. You edit the movie. Take out those horrible scenes. You don't have to live with those scenes. Remove them. Rewrite your story. Reframe the meaning of the scene. A trauma happened to me 50 years ago. It didn't happen today. It was 50 years ago. I'm the one who carries it. I don't have to carry it. I can reframe that story. I can turn it into a lesson, an experience, a learning moment, anything I want. It's just what I want to believe. So edit your story.
I love
Make it
that.
work for you. Make it serve you, not hurt you.
So I love that we're gonna. That's such a great way to end our conversation today, and I appreciate that. I love that simple task. And like you
Yeah,
said, do I have 30 minutes to do that? Yeah, I have 30 minutes to do that.
I think
And
I can.
I think I can do that. And what a huge impact that can be on bringing
Yeah,
us aware into our awakening. So thank you so
yeah.
much, Dallas, for your time today.
Thank you for having me. I've really enjoyed it.
Yay. That's
Oh, and I want
wonderful.
to say,
Yeah.
you're a part of a revolution of democratic voices online, and what you do is so important. And I really appreciate you doing this work because it's sharing with so many people. And that's what we're here to do is share with each other. So I thank you for your work.
Oh, it's my privilege and it's my honor. Thank you.
Mine as well. Thank you.